every month at this time, Mary Gaston, Realty Pro 100, comes in to chat. We talk about what we're seeing in the market or what some of the reports are showing us in the market. And then we give our take on what's going on. And it's beneficial. I think it's beneficial for everyone because many of us that are old, like me, we look at things from one perspective and we don't think about the perspective of the young people. And guess who's buying most real estate now? Yeah, it's the younger people. So let's get Mary's perspective on it. So we're looking here, start off with interest rates. And we've got all the slides on this as well. So we're going to show you the slides as we walk through them. At least I think we will, or at least Josh will. Somebody will. I don't know. So we got, will mortgage rates keep on rising? That's the question. We've got a chart that basically shows mortgage rates. And if I could see it, I think it goes back to September of 2016. Is that what that says? Oh, no, it goes back to January.
January 6th.
Close. We need to get, I need better glasses, I think, here. Okay, so going back to January 6th, the interest rates are mortgage rates, 30-year from Freddie Mac. Freddie Mac was at 3.22, peaked out at 6.95, and now it's come back just a little bit. And Len Kiefer, Deputy Chief Economist of Freddie Mac, says the U.S. 30-year fixed mortgage rates have increased 3.83 percentage points since the end of last year. That's the biggest year-to-date increase in over 50 years. And George Ratui, with inflation still running at a 40-year high and the Fed expecting a few more rate increases to combat it, mortgage rates will experience upward pressure through the end of 2022. And Mark Fleming pipes in, while mortgage rates are expected to continue to drift higher over the coming months, much of the rapid increase in rates is likely behind us. Wait a second. I think that I've got a comment for him, right? I mean, surprise. Wouldn't we hope that they're behind us?
I would hope.
I mean, that's kind of nuts when you think about that. They could be, if he thinks that maybe they'll go up even more than that.
Yeah.
Right. They've gone up. Well, you've obviously, being that it's over 50 years, you've never seen rates increase this much. Do you remember rates even at this kind of level?
I was gonna say, I don't think I've ever really known them to increase. I've always sort of just slowly watched them fall.
Right. They've kind of been hovering and then drop a little bit and hover a little more and drop. So now it's a first.
Yeah, it really is the first time I've had experience rates increasing.
Especially at this dramatic. I mean, probably right before you started getting real estate or maybe probably still in school, in the early 2000 to 2010, they were in this same 7%, but that was probably before
I got into real estate.
Before you even, it wasn't even on the radar.
No.
Okay. So recessions, you've seen two?
Yeah. Ish.
Two-ish.
Only one that really sticks and registers.
We don't really even think about the recession in 2020.
No.
Right? I mean, it was so quick and we were all really focused on the pandemic more than anything else.
Yeah, it was a small blip on the radar for everyone.
Exactly. So we don't know. Maybe we were in a recession. Maybe we are in a recession. But the Wall Street Journal economists surveyed chances of a recession in the next 12 months. January, they were saying 18% up chance. Now in October, they said 63% chance of a recession in the next 12 months. Do you even think about that?
No.
I
don't think that's something that I think about daily.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, at the end of the day, sort of life still goes on.
Okay.
I'm not an economist. I don't know. I don't even know how to give anything this conversation right now.
Okay. Well, but so
it's not something that I feel really affects it affects my day-to-day life, but not in a way that I'm overthinking it.
But your comment answers the exact question, right? Because as a millennial, we don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Right. When you're older, you might start saying, okay, well, I've experienced, I know what's going to happen. Maybe it's going to be more meaningful. But at this stage of life, the millennials are saying, yeah, okay, it is what it is. It's a word.
Yeah, I feel the only millennials who are thinking about it are the ones who are sitting there on the sideline saying, okay, well, the recession means the market's going to crash like it did in 2008.
Okay.
So they're sitting there waiting for that.
Okay. There's the thought right there. So it's our job then to tell people that recessions don't necessarily mean falling prices.
Exactly.
Right. So we're looking at recessions all the way back to 1980 on the next slide. And I think we're going the other way. Okay, so we're looking at recessions going all the way back to 1980. And the only one that really had any meaning in the world of real estate, really it was real estate that caused the recession. Right? In 2020, real estate was up 6%.
Yep.
2001, it was up 6.6. 1991, it fell just a little bit, but in 80 and 81, real estate was still a good investment.
Yes.
Now, the question becomes then, right now, does anybody really, with the lack of, there's more supply coming on the market.
Yeah, there is.
And demand is meeting the supply, the demand and the supply are pretty much flat.
Yes.
So that tells, so what would cause prices to drop? I mean, to me, it seems like if anybody that understands economics is going to say, okay, so we got more supply, but we had way too much demand. Demand can come down and supply can go up, and we're still.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they keep driving the rates up, that's definitely going to keep dropping demand, and
right.
It's going to fall.
Do you think it will?
Fall? No. Has it gone down slightly? Yes.
Okay. So the thought right there is if it's, interest rates are curbing the demand.
Yes.
But those people that have to buy are still going to buy.
Correct.
They just might not buy the $1 million house. They might have to buy the $900,000 house.
Yeah.
Just using median prices for Orange County. Might be a $450,000 house instead of a $500,000 house in Riverside.
Yeah.
Right. Same thought, but so the changes there. But the issue then becomes, unless you're moving into some sort of a retirement community, if you sell, you have to buy.
Yes.
So there's not a good case to be made for somebody selling.
No. Unless
they have to.
No, especially if all those people, I mean, how many refinances did you do over, the past couple of years when rates were so low? So many people refinanced.
Right.
Where they're like locked into that low rate. It doesn't financially make sense for them to sell and then have to get like an interest rate basically double what they were at.
Right. So the issues there are the only people that are buying are those that have to. The only people that are selling are those that have to. Right. So you're still staying at a pretty much of a parity. Recession. How about what the effect of recessions on interest rates? Well, we look at the same data that we had before as far as dates, because the recessions for real estate were the same as the recessions for interest rates. And every single time interest rates drop. Now, I don't know if we're going to go back to a point of 1981 where they dropped 5%, because they started out at 13 or 15.
Yeah.
Right. So they're probably not going to drop 5%. But if we got a 3% drop, 2% drop, that'd be meaningful.
Definitely.
So that adds to buying power. That adds to demand. And that might even add some more supply, because people that were sitting on the sideline saying, well, I'm not going to sell my house until I can afford to buy a new one. They can now afford to buy a new one.
Yep.
Especially if they're I'm going to throw it in there, if they're the old people, because the old people, for the most part, are the ones that are going to downsize.
Yes.
Right? You're buying bigger, right?
Yep.
Your friends are either getting into the market or they may be buying bigger.
Yep.
Getting married, having babies, growing their families, needing their needs are greater.
Yep. Okay.
So let's see here. What are the experts saying about home prices? I love going into some of this area, because everybody has an opinion on pricing. Right? If you ask 25 economists, you're going to get 35 opinions. So let's take a look at a few of them, and then Mary and I'll chat about them. For those bearish folks eagerly awaiting the home price crash, you'll have to keep waiting. As much as demand is pulling back, supply is as well, reducing downward pressure on prices in the short run. That's Taylor Mard, Deputy Chief Economist at Redfin. Home price forecast. Let's look at that one. Now, here's the slide that I like the most, and I look at all of them and say, other than the very first one on the slide, who cares? And why do I say that? So on the slide, if you're listening to us on radio, but the slide basically says home price forecast for 2023, and this is from HPES 2.6%, the National Association of Realtors up 1.2, the Mortgage Bankers Association up 0.7. So I like HPS. I'll tell you why. NAR and the MBA, who cares? Because they've both got vested interests in the outcomes. Freddie Mac down 0.2, Fannie Mae down 1.5, and Ivy Zelman down 5.1. So I like HPES because that's in a aggregation of over 100 economists. I bet the other ones are all probably part of it, but that's an aggregation of over 100 economists from the big banks, from academia, from real estate, from business. And they're saying up 2.6%. Now, I would say that, okay, that's their thought. That doesn't mean that's not local. That's national.
Correct.
What are you seeing locally? Are you seeing any changes locally?
I mean, I haven't really taken a deep dive into the numbers lately. From what I've been hearing, it seems like they're, staying stagnant or falling a little bit.
Okay. And you're basically hearing numbers for Orange County, Riverside, LA?
Yeah.
Okay. So those are and Los Angeles, I'm gonna go out on a limb here because I think, and again, my opinion is no better than the next person's. I like HPES. But Austin, Texas is going to fall. Phoenix is going to fall. Idaho is going to fall.
Phoenix has already started falling, hasn't it?
Yep. Los Angeles is going to fall. Why? Because those are the areas that had the greatest increases, right? So if you go at such, if the market's going up 20%, which is dramatic, and you're going up 35, the likelihood is you're going to be leading the pack on the way down too.
You're self-correct.
Right. There you go. The best word.
Thank you.
I like that one. Home prices forecast to fall in 2023. The big banks, what are they saying? Goldman Sachs down 5 to 10. Wells Fargo down 5.5. Moody's down 5 to 10. Morgan Stanley down 3. Okay, well, they're built into that home price expectation survey as well. And you look at it and say, okay, well, Wells Fargo got out of the mortgage business completely, so we'll see what's happening with them. And the others, are they selling their own book? Probably not Moody's. But Goldman Sachs runs funds that buy real estate. So do you think they want it to go down a little bit? Right? Do you want real estate to go up or down if you're in the buying market?
You want it to go down.
Right. So, and they don't have to sell it. They can just buy it and hold it until the time is right to sell it. So let's look at the timing right when we come back. So before the break, we were talking about home prices and some of the big banks that said the prices are going to drop, and the rest of the world that says they're not. Not going to go up by a whole lot, 2.4%. Southern California, Orange County over the last 63 years, we average about 5.37. So we'll see. And the normal market is 4. So historically, national, the number is about 4, a little under, and Orange County is at 5.37. So we're about 25% higher than the market. But Wells Fargo home price forecast for 2023 was down 5.5%. But here's the good news, because when we looked at real estate during the crash, 2008, 9, 10, prices kept on dropping, right? From 2007 to 2011, prices dropped year after year after year. But Wells Fargo, they're saying up 3.1 next year. So it's basically just a quick correction.
Yeah. Well, do we think it's all just interest rate driven though, isn't it?
There
They're
you go.
dropping right now because interest rates are going up. Once the recession hits, interest rates are going to start going down, prices start going up again.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. So bottom line is don't wait. Len Kiefer, Deputy Chief Economist, Freddie Mac, while there might be little statistical difference between a small positive number and a small negative number, there are often huge differences in how they may impact behavior. That makes sense. So home prices depreciated for 5 years during the great financial crisis, whatever you want to call it. 2007 down 7.3, 2008 down 14.2, 9 down 2.6, 10 down 3.4. But then look how quick it turned around in 12 and 13. Right, those were big increases compared to history. So 12 was almost double and 13 was over double the national average in the years of appreciation, according to Zelman and Associates. So again, it's then we didn't have a well-defined catalyst is the word I'm looking for. Right? We have a pretty well-defined, now you just gave us the pretty well-defined catalyst of why rates should drop or why real estate should appreciate because of the rate drop.
Yep.
And it's not, when you see the same thing happen 5 or 6 or 7 recessions in a row, it's not a stretch to say it might happen again.
Maybe.
Right? I mean, we can't predict the future, but we can study the past and hope we can get a good idea.
Yep.
Are you seeing many foreclosures?
Personally, no.
I haven't seen a whole lot of them. And we've got a chart here that goes as foreclosures all the way back to 2005. And if you look all the way back in 2005, we had 533,000 foreclosures that year. This is according to Adam Data. And their report shows that as of the end of 2021, their latest data is 151,000. We got up to 2.9 million in 2010. That would scare people.
Yeah.
Right? Because I would say in 2010, you weren't in the industry then, were you?
No.
Okay. And I don't know, maybe you fit into this also. I was in the industry. Everybody knew somebody who went through foreclosure.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know somebody that went through foreclosure?
I don't think I did.
Okay. So I bet your parents did.
Go through foreclosure?
No, knew somebody.
Oh.
No, knew somebody.
Yeah, all I remember is my parents freaking out because they had bought right before the crash.
Okay.
And they watched their value plummet. I remember that.
And I wonder how long, you may know it, may not know it, is when their value plummeted. How many years did it take till it was back where they were again? You don't have to, I bet it wasn't more than 4.5 to 5 years.
Yeah.
That's the statistical averages. So just the thought right there as to what's going on with some of the numbers. We're not going through that again, right? Because people are holding their properties. They've got a lot of equity. We've done shows on how you can protect your equity, right? If you think rates are going to, the property value is going to drop like this again, give us a call. We'll show you how to get that equity out so that if they do, you don't care because you've got the money on the sidelines. Let's take a look and see. U.S. foreclosure activity continues to increase quarterly, nearing pre-pandemic levels. So here's the garbage that comes out of the media, right? So they tell us that this will be a headline out there in the news because they like going with Adam Data's numbers. So U.S. foreclosure activity continues to increase quarterly, nearing pre-pandemic limits. So same week in 2020, housing supply still is historically low. Do you really think that we're going to see what was pre-pandemic limits, right? Levels.
Yeah, if they're looking at like 2019, that's
kind of a weird chart. But here's
I'm looking back at this chart where it says foreclosure activity by year.
Right.
Like if they're calling pre-pandemic levels like the 493 in 2019, every other year dating back to 2005 was still higher than that.
Right. So if we
what
take
year are they going off of?
So let's just do some simple math here, Mary, because it's early and it's a Monday. So in 2021, the foreclosure activity was 151,000 off that same chart you were looking at. Mm-hmm. Let's say that the number goes up by 50%. That's adding another 75,000. That goes to 225,000. Yeah. The only year in the last 16 years that would have been below that, if it goes up 50%, would have been 2020.
Yep.
So yeah, their data could be correct, but it's misleading.
Yes.
Right? The number was so low. When you go off of a low basis and you say it increases, it doesn't matter. Unbelievable. And the media, I guarantee you Diana Olick is going to come out with it. This will be on CNBC, and Diana Olick will give this bogus information once again. She always does. So this week in 2021, there was 39.5% more properties. Same week in 2020, 6.3, and now we're down to 20. In 2019, there was 37.2%. We're down 37.2 from then. So if you go back to pre-pandemic, we're way below the numbers, even though there's more properties on the market. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's kind of what we've been talking about all morning. There's properties coming on the market, but the interest rates are holding people back from buying them.
Yep.
And we know that housing is one of the biggest components of what the inflation is, and it's one of the biggest components of GDP. So does it surprise anybody that, we're going into a recession? Just the housing alone is going to cause it. Should I buy a home right now? Well, no, you can rent. Take a look at that chart. Going back, they put it in big letters so I can even see that it's going back to 1988. Pretty dramatic.
That is a steep increase.
Isn't that crazy? So I shared this once before. I have 3 kids. I think they all fit into the millennial class. One of them just moved out of his apartment into a townhome. And his apartment rent was going to go from $2,800 to $3,049, right, as a renewal. So he doesn't renew because he goes into a townhome. Take a wild guess what they put it up for. $3,500.
$3,500?
From $2,800 to $3,500. Do you think they're upset about him leaving?
No.
Right? They're happy that he left. Landlords, other than Los Angeles, because you don't have to pay the bill there. But, you can get more money on the rent. That's for a 2-bedroom, 2-story apartment. $3,500.
That's crazy.
Right? Can you believe? So, renting is not going to be the answer. Odetta Cushy, chief economist, First American. If you can find a house that meets your financial expectations for a monthly payment and it is good time for you to buy, do it. No, really? That takes
a time to do it.
Yeah, that's the chief economist at First American came up with something that prophetic. If you wait for prices to fall, but they never do, you may discover the hard way that the house that you found a year ago that you really loved, that you could afford, but you passed up on is more expensive next year. We've been talking about that all morning. Jason Luris, co-founder and chief data officer, Parcel, never heard of him. In the absence of trustworthy, up-to-date information, real estate decisions are increasingly being driven by fear, uncertainty, and doubt. These decisions can be hugely consequential for consumers and businesses. Don't we make most of our decisions based on fear?
Yeah.
Right? Fear of loss.
Mm-hmm.
They even came up with an acronym for them, FOMO, right? I don't know what it means, but I heard that's what it says.
Fear of missing out.
Right. So the bottom line here is that, if you can you're buying a payment,
mm-hmm.
right? When you really think about it, unless you're going to pay cash for a property, right? When you're looking at your property that you're getting,
mm-hmm.
is it more important to you? Can I afford it or the big number?
It's more the affordability. Because at the end of the day, the price that you're paying for it, that's not the price you're paying because you're paying interest on top of all of that.
Right.
Like you're not just paying, $1 million for a home. Like factoring in interest, you're paying a lot more for that home than you think you are.
So you're really paying 2.5, but no one says, well, I'm going to go buy this house for $2.5 million.
Exactly.
Right. That's what you're really paying for it.
Get what you can afford.
Right. So, and the beauty of it is if you go back to the slide that shows the rents, if you've got that 30-year fixed rate mortgage, your payment only goes down.
Correct. Like your income's probably going up, but your payment's going, staying the same or going down.
Right. So you don't have to ever worry about it going up because it's a fixed rate. And yes, I do know that because I've had some people ask me this one, Ron, I have a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. Why did my payments increase? Well, you have your taxes and your insurance impounded. So insurance may have gone up. And your taxes, property taxes may have gone up. That's what drives that. So wasn't your mortgage payment and it wasn't your interest expense. And if you want some information on how to get your mortgage payment quicker or your equity to go quicker, give me a call because think about this one. I just did this with a group recently. And it's a trivia question. How long does it take to pay off half of a 30-year mortgage? Probably about a little over 20 years,
mm-hmm.
because you're paying all the interest up front.
Yep.
So if you can pay an extra, I think the number that I looked at last on an amortization table, if you can make 4 payments worth of principal, it brings you down 10 payments worth on the amortization table.
So just the principal, not even a full payment.
Right.
Just pay like the extra principal.
Right. Pretty amazing just understanding how the amortization table works. If you want more information on any of this, give us a call, 800. If you got a house to sell, if you're worried about your equity, if you're worried about your future, if you're worried that, something, maybe I just want to cash out and sit on the sidelines, I don't recommend it. But we can still show you ways to maximize the amount of money you get for your property in the shortest period of time. And it's not by going to a cut rate broker. I'm going to tell you right here, if you go to cut rate brokers, or if you're looking for a discounted commission, you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot, and I don't get any of that commission, so it doesn't matter to me which way you go. Right? The bottom line is you're shooting yourself in the foot. If you want to understand it, give me a call, 800-306-1990.